you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. It is 7:48. Good morning, viewers. It is 7:48 a.m. This morning, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this segment, we are chatting with the TTPS, Sergeant Joseph Jordon, joining us here on set this morning. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning to you. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning to your viewing and listening audience. Thanks for having me today. Pleasure being here.
All right, excellent. We get the conversation going immediately. We're speaking childcare and custody during the Easter holidays, and we want to start off on the premise in terms of perhaps what are the usual challenges that will occur around this time, and what is the firm advice and guidance of the TTPS?
All right, so school is out. One of the things that many of us as adults, guardians, parents do, we often send our children to camps. And what we would want to advise is that these camps that you are sending your child or children to, do some research on them, do some background checks to ensure that these are legitimate and professional persons. Because you don't want to find yourself in a position where you have to go and rescue a child from a camp or a hike because you chose to send them off as some sort of to oversee them while you are at work. So we want to advise persons to make sure that these camps are properly supervised, and you ensure that you do the appropriate checks before sending them off. Another thing that we want to touch on during this Easter time is the fact of the beach. All right, because we often see the beaches filled with people around this time. And what we want to do, especially when it comes to children, before you leave home, have that discussion with them on beach safety practices. And remember, the beach is not a swimming pool. Some of us, as we often say, some people say, "Ain't going to a beach, they see and no branch." And it might sound comical, but it's something that's very serious. When you go into the beach, you need to be prepared. I mean, if you know you can't swim, stay on the shore. Don't let the water pass your ankle. All right. So we want to encourage persons, that the parents in particular, before you leave home, do that briefing with your children or child, because what often happens, by the time you get to the beach and they are physically on the sand, they are distracted, the excitement. So sometimes you are speaking to them and they don't listen to you. So we want to encourage them to do that briefing at home, and also to ensure that if you can give them some swimming lessons prior to going to the beach, that would also help. Because we don't want to have the lifeguards to be having to save anybody. Yes, they are there to oversee, but prevention is always better than cure. So at least when it comes to beaches, that is one of the points that we want to ensure that parents be mindful of as safety, and also to follow the rules and the regulation on the beaches, because they have some flags that are often placed there. And if you don't know what they mean, you can engage the lifeguards on site and find out where you can swim, what are the safe areas and what are the areas that you should not venture to.
All right. I want you to tell us as well, we're speaking Easter holidays, and sometimes parents need to be reminded. What's that age that children can remain at home alone? Because that's another challenge that's faced. For those who are not at a camp, a parent tends to take the chance. Well, you're big enough.
They're big.
And you leave children at home, and sometimes it goes even further. You leave what you believe to be the bigger children at home, overseeing and looking at the younger ones, but they're all under the age.
Right. So in times gone by, we would have had some challenges as to legality as to children. However, we would have revised that law some time ago, and we now have children, a child defined as someone under the age of 18 years. So basically, what we are saying that children that are left under the age of 18 should not be left unsupervised. Now, we take it for granted, sometimes you're 16, 17, you leave them at home, they think they are responsible enough. But at the end of the day, the irony of that, if something happens, is a child that has to be accounted for. So we are advising persons not to leave children unsupervised at home, especially in instances sometimes they might have a 14-year-old looking over a 7, 8-year-old. Those are two children. And who responsible for who it really doesn't make any sense. And these are some of the challenges that we often find when we look at our children act, we look at chapter 4601. And even in that section, when we look at section 4, we often, as relates to the prevention of cruelty to children, there are some serious offenses that are carried there, and there are instances where parents, guardians leave children unattended, and unfortunately, negative things happen to them. And this is something that we are trying to empower adults, guardians, parents to be aware of. So we often look at the kind of punitive measures, but we are responsible for protecting lives and serving the community. And I want to just touch on one of some of the areas. So like leaving a child unattended and an instance, something unfortunately happened to them, you can find yourself in a situation where you can be charged on a summary offenses, and that will result in you paying $5,000 and imprisonment to 6 months. And if you go with the more serious or indictable, you can find yourself being fined $50,000 and 10 years in prison. I mean, how bad would it look for a mother, for example, to be sentenced to jail for 10 years because they were not paying attention? It may sound somewhat callous and aggressive, but these are the penalties for these sort of lack of attention and lack of due attention and inadequate supervision.
All right, so it's really that kind of admonition and reminder out there to parents, as comfortable as you may be and as responsible as the child may appear, it becomes a critical and a challenging situation, especially when something goes wrong.
And that is the thing.
Under the circumstances. So it may seem well the 4 or 5 other times, but that one time when something goes wrong, according in our terminology, that's when you might hold your head.
Yes.
Yeah, and really start to wonder about the decisions that you have made. So that's a gentle reminder out there. Parents, in terms of that greater responsibility, very critical in the process. All right, the other area I want us to be able to get some updates on, the work of the TTPS. You come on here quite regularly as part of your outreach and media campaign. Tell us, where are we at currently, particularly for those who still have levels of discomfort with what's happening in Tobago, where are things going to? There was once a time where we didn't even have a murder. Criminal activity was certainly not something to worry about in Tobago. And we're going into what is a very hectic April season, the collective of the Easter season, as you've mentioned, the Easter weekend period, which is usually quite active, a number of visitors coming in and flowing straight on into jazz. So just give us some updates in relation to where we at in terms of the TTPS readiness for these upcoming areas.
All right, so as the Easter is approaching, we, as per usual, we will have our increased patrols, our presence will be felt. We are encouraging persons to observe speed limits because we know Easter, we have a lot of car shows. And this is a period a lot of people that tend to get excited on the roadway. So we have to observe our speed limit in Tobago on the highway, and our major roadways, 80 kilometers. On our secondary roadways, 50 kilometers. We will be out there doing our breathalyzer tests, checking persons that we have a number of parties and activities that will be taking place. We want to encourage persons, get a designated driver, because you don't want to find yourself behind prison gates, as we sometimes say, because you're drinking and driving, right? We'll be doing our patrols. I mean, we have a lot of tourists visiting. We have our TOPS unit out there interacting with the person, advising them. We'll be visiting our tourist sites, and we'll have a presence of, in particular, the TOPS. They focus more along the tourist sites and the beaches. So you'll be seeing those officers. You'll be seeing the general policing membership out there interacting. More or less, we want prevention because prevention is better than cure. And at the end of the day, we want to be proactive in our approach. So we want to encourage the public to work with the police officers, as well as the police officers will work with the communities to ensure that Tobago remains safe during this period of time. We have a number of initiatives in place, which we will not just put out there because we have a kind of big stick approach in this country. Because the police out there, we will not do that. But at the end of the day, what we want is that persons need to abide by the law and be aware of what are the wrongs and rights in our society, so that we can have a situation where we could return Tobago, and by extension Trinidad, with Tobago 0 murders, 0 fatalities, and reduced crime.
Tell us about the current statistics as well in terms of your ability in terms of solving crimes. I know that's one of the things we hear very often at the national level,
yeah.
In terms of where we are. Tell us about the Tobago division in relation to our progress there.
Right. So currently we at our detection rates as compared to last year, it's a little lower. We now stand at 31%. Now, in what the positive of that, we have a lot less crimes than last year when compared. So the division is working as relates to reducing crimes. However, detection rate is down, and we are in the process of trying to engage community, because sometimes at the end of the day, in solving a crime, we need the community to sometimes give us the information. While we will be out there searching, doing our investigation, sometimes there may be witnesses to crime and they refuse to come forward, and it now makes this crime even more difficult and even unable to solve. So we want to encourage persons to share information. As I often say, if you see something, say something. So that is one of the ways that we can continue to maintain our crime. So generally, the Tobago division, we are doing relatively great thus far. It's not on a crime perspective, however, with our fatalities, that figure has somewhat jumped up, because last year I think we had a total of 3 road fatalities, and we are only beginning the 4th month in this year, and we already have 4. So we are encouraging persons to be very careful on the roadway, and the number one, 2 factors are contributing to fatalities: speed and drink or driving under influence. So we want to encourage persons observe the speed limits, avoid drinking and driving, so that you can not only save a life but also keep the statistics down. Because at the end of the day, road traffic accidents sometimes are very devastating for families, because it's like you just leave home and nobody shows up to come back, and at the end of the day, some unfortunate news takes and it's a very, very traumatic experience for families.
All right. How do you reassure persons? You know, we're running out of time, but just very quickly, for the persons looking on out there saying, I want to inform, I want to provide the information, but I'm fearful for my life. Because I call and I provide it to Sergeant Joseph Jordon, and by in the morning, somebody's at my door threatening me because Sergeant might have mentioned it to somebody else who know the person under the circumstances, because Tobago is a very close-knit kind of space. What's your reassurance for persons in that regard as we prepare to wrap this morning?
All right, so I would want to point in 3 directions, right? The first one being, you must find a police officer that you can trust, all right? And why I'm saying that, yes, we all know we have our challenges with trust issues, but we cannot have an organization, and I would not say that we have an organization that you can't trust anyone. So you must find someone you can trust. The other options that we have the 555, which is very safe, and we have 800 tips. We can utilize these entities and report information. They are internationalist at an international level of security, and we have had a lot of success with those entities. So I am going to encourage persons to use them. If you don't feel comfortable speaking with someone, 800 tips, 555.
All right, excellent.
So in closing, I will also have one special request.
Yes.
I'm putting it out there. I just want to say good morning to the Team 98, Signal Hill Senior Comprehensive School. This year we are celebrating 25 years. And so I want to say a special good morning to my classmates and former student of Signal Hill.
All right. So shout out there to the past students out at Signal Hill, and I could see past students out there reacting very nicely. They're probably saying a nice one, Sergeant, for making sure you slip that in the mix. And I think that is also very important as well. And for me, that's what you would speaks more broadly to the fact about that opportunity for the police to be integrated into communities and spaces where people are able to develop that greater level of trust. I see someone here saying on the live, morning, Joseph, only greatness in the family. That's the spirit that we want people to have when it comes to the TTPS. So there's that greater level of comfort. So we're looking forward to those building relations. We're looking for more Jordans and Cebros in terms of their attitude towards policing within the TTPS. So thank you so much for joining us on set here this morning. Viewers, those of you connecting with us via TV, listening in, and those of you online, this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.